topic is about sensory matters and how that connects with our personality type. Because, as you know, I'm a strong believer in not just creative design or intelligent design, but really, I believe in brilliant design. And what that means is that I believe that between our spirit, our soul, and our body, and our blood type, and all sorts of other components of what makes you unique, there is synergy, very brilliant synergy. Which means that if I understand your personality profile, I should also understand a little bit about your sensory profile. And I should know a little bit about your needs, and I should know about aspects that would cause you stress, etc. And that's where those other F words come in, the frostbite and fertilizer and so on, that you hear us talking about at Tall Trees. But today, I specifically want to zoom into the whole idea of filth. And I mean literal filth. I mean mud and mess. Now, I recently had the opportunity to participate in a pottery class, which was really fantastic. Somebody here at our church is a wonderful pottery artist. And he gave us the opportunity to work with clay, and he had all sorts of tools there for us to work with, and even a wheel for those who were brave enough to enter the world of splatter. And I observed everybody, because quite a number of people in that room have gone through Tall Trees workshops. So I've had the privilege of seeing their profiles, so I know what tree types are in the room. And then it's just fascinating to see them going to work with this mess, because let's face it, pottery clay is filthy. It sticks to your fingernails, it's everywhere, and it sticks to the table. And if you get behind that wheel, especially, there's the wet component. It's an interesting observation, because even though we can have sensory issues that can stem from a whole lot of underlying causes, there is also a sensory component to our personality style profile. And you can see that, the boxwoods really wanting to do a good job and being very meticulous and all of that. That's not the sensory part I talk of. It's the whole idea of a need to clean. How much tactile information can you handle before you feel like you need to get this off your skin? Because this is one of our 5 senses, and if it gets overloaded, then there's a need to have your hands dry, or to have them clean, to go and wash them, or even to sit on them. So I watched it for a while, and here are some of my observations, and this is really what occupational therapists around me also tell me, that this is how they see it going. So the people going to that wheel, the people that I saw going to that wheel, to really dig into that filth all in, and to saturate themselves in all of that sensory input from the wet clay and how it moves and splatters and everything, were the palm roses. So that's a combination of the rose that likes a challenge, that wants to do the hard thing, but not just from a work perspective, or a social perspective, the challenge, but also really from a sensory perspective. They need resistance. And it was actually fun to get an email from a palm rose just a day or so ago saying, hey, I've noticed that the challenge that I need at work, I also need when I exercise. I would rather go 9 miles an hour uphill on a bike set on that incline setting where it's really tough, than go 20 miles on a level road on a regular bike. Why do I want to do all of these things the hard way, even in my body? And that's exactly why. So the palm roses were the ones who had that rose challenge thing, where I need the resistance, but then also the palm tree sensual part, where I need the sensory input. I need to feel stuff. I need to hear it. I need as much sensory input as I can possibly get. And I need to experience novelty. And those two things really also sit in our sensory profile. So I saw a lot of palm roses trying it out over there. And of course, the boxwoods look at it and go like, this is going to be a mess on my clothes. I don't know. I'm not dressed right. And they're happy to observe. And so did some of the pines. Now, they were pine trees wanting that smooth feeling, the rotation of the wheel, because their sensory profile really prefers gentle and soft touch. Now, how does that relate to the other areas of life, namely, the messy room, the kitchen, how you cook, how you go about doing things that create mess in our everyday lives? Well, it definitely translates into that as well. And an important question, and this is one that the parents usually ask, is, so how do I get them to care to actually go clean up their rooms? And it is because the filth level does not register the same for all personality types. And here are some of the reasons that you could consider. Now, for a boxwood, order is really important, and very many boxwoods are primarily visual. That means they learn from looking and reading. They like all the information in writing because they want to process it that way, black on white. And then because they need visual regulation, they need straight lines, they need clean surfaces, they need things on shelves standing upright and preferably from big to small. So that behavioral or personality component also has a sensory side. And when things are disorderly in a visual sense, they typically want to line it up and straighten it out. Because it wastes energy for them to have to look at this. I often say that if I open a door and there's a mess behind it, that room goes and literally sucks out my energy and sometimes even the will to live, depending on how big the mess is. Some rooms in this house are like, do suck out the will to live. So we need those straight lines, clean surfaces, things in order from a sensory profile. So we clean up, contrary to common belief, not to impress you or to be superior or to impress visitors. We do it for ourselves so that we can survive living in that space. Why would a pine tree clean up? Well, only when it becomes uncomfortable. So when a pine tree can't find what they need to find, it takes really long to get work done because things are not organized, they will organize it. And I find that pine trees are very tidy a lot of the time, because they keep it simple. They are really talented at finding an easy way to do things, and they just end up not messing it up because they don't have the energy to clean it up again. So they find ways to just keep filth away from their world. Now, I also think a lot of these introverts, the pines and boxwoods rather, do not like the filth on their skin. So the people that I most commonly see washing their hands a lot, needing their bodies to be clean, their hair to be clean, their skin to be clean, those are usually our introverted people, because a part of introversion is not being energized by a lot of people and a lot going on outside of you, but needing a more streamlined and clean environment with less happening around you. So lots of sensory input for roses and palms. What does that mean for cleanliness and tidiness? Well, it means that I don't mind the sweat pouring off of my body. It makes me feel alive. If I can dig into something that gives me sensory feedback, it feeds me. So they will really only clean up again when it breaks their speed. Like with the pines, that it messes with their comfort. For a rose, I mean, if I can't move anymore, I'm going to start cleaning up. If I can get my job done quick enough, I'm going to start cleaning up. Because if there is a barrier between me and what I need to get done, that motivates me as a rose. So roses will often tell you, I know where everything is. I know it looks like a royal mess. I've got this. And then at one point, they will realize this is not functional anymore. And as soon as it interferes with their work, they will do something about it. And then they will do it so fast. You cannot believe it. And they can organize. They can organize like boxwoods can, but at the speed of light. And they don't need it perfect. They need it practical, and it'll get done. And maybe I should say here, it's not necessarily that they will do it, because they're great at subcontracting others to do dirty jobs. So a lot of the time, rose bushes will feel a little superior to the whole idea of cleaning and will want others to do it for them. So they're really good at getting it all cleaned up. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily doing it themselves. Then the palm trees are just not in need of all of that. Palm trees do not clean unless there is a real good social reason to do that, because that is their main motivator. And I expect them to have a colorful and interesting environment until somebody that matters to them is really unhappy about it, and then maybe something will happen there. And it will probably not remain that way for very long. And again, remember, you are probably a combination of several of these trees, so keep that in mind. If you feel that your sensory profile is very far removed from your personality profile, say for example you're a rose bush, but you can't handle touch, you can't handle dirt, or you have a child who's a palm tree, but they don't want to touch anything, and they don't want to play with anything new, and they're grossed out by textures and things like that, then that means there is a little flag that says an occupational therapy assessment would be a really, really good idea. Because if everything hangs together the way it's supposed to hang together, then a palm tree should want to get their fingers in there. And if they are not doing that, and they're not licking the icing off the cake when you don't watch, when you're not watching, then something's not exactly right. And then it's always good to just have it checked out. It's one of the most valuable assessments you can ever do for yourself as an adult and for a child, is to look at your sensory integration system and make sure that that is good. Well, I have the camera angled this way because if I turn it in any other direction, you will see that my house is not tidy. And I have a box palm social profile, and I have visitors next week. So I am motivated enough by those two components to clean it up next week, and that is when it will get done. So I can absolutely go to sleep in the filth, because the filth is not in my bedroom and is not impeding my functioning. And so it's not literally filthy, but I need to do some vacuuming, and I need to pack away laundry of last week and so forth. But I will get to that, and as long as I don't see it, I'm good. So if I see the straight lines, and that's probably why I set up this with straight lines, this is the part of my house I can cope with now, because there is no clutter. This makes me happy. So if that is also what you need, organize your filth, hide it behind a door, and mobilize your troops to take care of it for you, rose bushes and pine trees. Just you're so good at tuning it out. It's amazing how you cannot see what is lying around around you. Bless your heart. I wish I had that gift. Have a good day.